Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're diving into something a lot of you have requested, building consistent English learning habits.
Yeah, and we've got this awesome article you all sent in, chock full of really cool strategies and insights.
And no matter what your English goals are, maybe you're dreaming of finally understanding those British sitcoms without subtitles or acing that big presentation at work, this deep dive is for you.
Absolutely. And, the article jumps right into this fascinating concept, the compounding effect.
Oh, yeah, I love this idea. It's like small actions, consistent effort leading to these amazing results.
Exactly. They actually use this great example. Um, Imagine learning just 5 new words a day.
5 words. Okay, that feels doable.
Right. It's like a tiny commitment, but the article highlights how quickly those tiny actions add up.
I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
Okay, so 5 words a day, that's what, 35 a week, 140 a month?
Whoa, already I'm impressed.
Right. And by the end of the year, you're looking at over 1,600 new words.
See, this is why I love the compounding effect. It's like that quote, what I do every day matters more than what I do once in a while. So true.
I love that quote.
Yeah.
And, it applies to so much more than just vocabulary.
True. It's grammar, it's listening comprehension, it's even your pronunciation.
Exactly. It's like all these tiny improvements, they build on each other, and suddenly, boom, you're speaking English more fluently than you ever imagined.
Okay, I am officially on board with the power of consistency.
Me too.
But, okay, let's get real for a sec. We've all crammed for a test at some point, right? And then a week later, poof, it's all gone. How do we make sure these new English skills actually stick?
Such a good point. And the article gets into this, into how our brains learn. They talk about this thing called spaced repetition.
Okay, spaced repetition. Tell me more.
Well, think about it like this. Imagine revisiting a friend. Each time you hang out, your bond gets stronger. It's the same with language learning.
I like that analogy.
So each time you encounter a new word or grammar rule, you're basically strengthening the connection in your brain.
So it's not about cramming it all in at once, but spreading out your learning over time.
Exactly. And the cool thing is, a lot of language learning apps actually use spaced repetition.
Oh, really? So they kind of do the thinking for you.
Pretty much. Apps like Anki or Memrise, they use algorithms to figure out when you should revisit certain words or concepts based on, how well you're remembering them.
That's so cool. It's like having this personalized language learning coach in your pocket.
Totally. But, beyond all the technical stuff, there's something amazing about the feeling of confidence that comes with actually mastering a language.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. It's the best feeling.
Like, think about that moment when you finally nail a tricky grammar rule, or you have your first real conversation in English, and you actually understand what's going on.
The feeling is incredible.
Right. It's like a light bulb goes off in your head and everything just clicks. And the more of those aha moments you have, the more your confidence just grows.
I love that. It's like this positive feedback loop.
Exactly. And this actually leads us to another cool point the article makes about habit formation. So it talks about how our brains are actually wired to love routines.
Okay, so like we're not fighting against our brains. We're working with them.
Precisely. So by making English a consistent part of your day, you're basically tapping into your brain's natural wiring. And eventually it becomes less of a chore, less of this thing you have to force yourself to do, and more of this, like, automatic part of your routine.
I like where this is going. Sign me up.
Right. So the article dives into all these practical ways to actually build that daily English learning habit. And one of the big takeaways is, drum roll please,
Hit me with it.
start small.
Start small. Okay, I can get behind that.
It's so easy to feel overwhelmed, thinking you need to dedicate hours and hours every day to become fluent.
Absolutely. Been there, felt that.
But the article stresses that even just 10 to 15 minutes, if you do it consistently, can make a world of difference.
Okay, 10 to 15 minutes. That feels way less scary.
Right. It's about finding these little pockets of time throughout your day.
Yeah, like that commute, that lunch break, even waiting in line at the grocery store. All prime language learning opportunities.
You got it. It's all about making those little moments count. Instead of mindlessly scrolling through social media, you can squeeze in a few minutes of Duolingo.
I am so guilty of that mindless scrolling.
Aren't we all? But those little bits, they really do add up over time. But to make sure those minutes are actually effective, the article recommends setting clear goals.
Oh, I love this because instead of just vaguely saying, I want to be fluent, you're actually giving yourself these specific targets to aim for.
Exactly. And the article even gives some cool examples.
Like what?
Like, I want to be able to understand movies without subtitles. Or, I want to confidently order food at a restaurant in English.
I love those. So it's like, what do you actually want to do with this language?
Right. It makes it so much more tangible and motivating. Speaking of which, what are some of your English goals?
Ooh, that's a great question. It really makes you stop and think, like, why am I doing this? What do I really want to achieve?
Exactly. And once you have those goals in mind, the article talks about creating a routine, like actually scheduling your English practice like you would any other important appointment.
Okay, so treat it like it's non-negotiable, no excuses.
Exactly. But let's be real. Sometimes routines can get a little bit, well, routine.
True, it can start to feel a little stale if you're not careful.
And that's where the article's emphasis on making learning fun comes in. It reminds us that there are so many ways to engage with the language,
hmm
to make it enjoyable.
Yes, it doesn't have to be all textbooks and grammar drills.
Right. Think language learning apps, podcasts,
Yeah.
music, movies with subtitles. The possibilities are endless.
There are so many cool resources out there. And I love that you mentioned experimenting because it reminds me of something else the article suggests, tracking your progress.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. It says there's something really motivating about actually seeing how far you've come.
Totally. Have you ever tried a habit tracker app?
I have. They're great. It's so satisfying to watch those streaks build up, or even just marking off the days on a calendar when you practiced. It makes you feel good about yourself.
For sure. And it's a great way to stay motivated and hold yourself accountable. And speaking of motivation, don't forget about rewards.
Oh, yes. Celebrating those small wins is crucial.
What's a little something you enjoy that you could use as a reward? A coffee break, a new episode of your favorite show.
It doesn't have to be anything big, but it's important to acknowledge your efforts and make the whole journey more enjoyable. Because let's be real, learning a language, it takes time and effort. There will be times when you feel stuck or frustrated or you just don't feel like practicing.
It's so true.
And that's why the article really emphasizes being kind to yourself. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
It's all about progress, not perfection, right? And actually, this leads us perfectly into the next section, overcoming those common obstacles that can sometimes make us want to give up altogether.
So true. And one of the biggest ones the article tackles is the classic, I don't have enough time.
Yeah.
We all feel that, right?
Oh, for sure. The struggle is real.
Yeah.
But remember those hidden pockets of time we talked about? It's all about getting creative and finding ways to weave English into your existing routine.
I love that, weaving it in.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be this separate, isolated thing. It can become a natural part of your day.
Yeah, like think about it, listening to a podcast in English while you're doing the dishes or reading a news article in English on your commute. It all adds up.
It's like turning those everyday tasks into little learning opportunities. I love that.
Oh,
But sometimes even when I can find the time, the motivation just isn't there. What about those moments when you're just not feeling it?
oh yeah, I've been there for sure. It's like, you should practice, but the couch and a good TV show are calling your name.
Exactly. So how do we get ourselves back on track when we're feeling that lack of motivation?
The article has this really cool tip for those moments. It says, go back to your why.
Why? Okay. What does that mean exactly?
It means remembering your reason for learning English in the first place. Like, what was that initial spark that made you want to embark on this journey? Was it to connect with people from different cultures, to travel the world with confidence, or maybe to finally land that dream job?
I like that. It's like reminding yourself of the bigger picture.
Right. And it can be so powerful to reconnect with that initial motivation. It gives you that extra push to keep going even when you don't feel like it.
I'm totally going to try that next time I'm feeling uninspired. But what about those times when you feel like you're putting in the effort, but you're just not making progress?
You mean like you've hit a plateau?
Exactly. It's like you're stuck in a rut and you're not moving forward.
Yeah. I think every language learner experiences that at some point. It can be super frustrating, especially when you're putting in the work.
So what does the article suggest for breaking through those plateaus?
Well, it recommends shaking things up a bit.
Okay, I like that.
So if you've been mainly focusing on grammar drills, maybe try diving into some conversation practice with a language partner. Or if you've been glued to your textbook, maybe explore some fun language learning apps or online resources.
So basically, hit the reset button on your learning routine.
Exactly. It's all about keeping things fresh and interesting. Sometimes all it takes is a little change of perspective to reignite that learning spark.
That makes so much sense. And it reminds us that language learning isn't just about memorizing rules and vocabulary. It's about actively engaging with the language in different ways, experimenting, having fun,
Right.
making it your own.
Totally. And It's okay to adjust your goals along the way, too. Maybe those initial goals you set for yourself no longer feel relevant or inspiring. It's all about finding what works for you in this moment.
That's so true. Language learning is this ongoing journey. It's not about reaching a destination and then stopping. It's about constantly evolving and discovering new things about yourself and the language.
I couldn't agree more. And every new word you learn, every conversation you have, every book you read, it all adds to this richer, more fulfilling experience.
It's like unlocking a whole new world full of cultures, ideas, and connections. And it all comes back to that key ingredient we talked about earlier, consistency.
It really is the magic ingredient, isn't it?
Yeah.
It transforms those small daily efforts into these remarkable results over time.
It's mind-blowing to think that even just 15 minutes a day can create such a significant impact.
It's the power of habit. Making English a part of your daily ritual, weaving it into the fabric of your life.
I love that image. And let's be real, there will be days when you miss that 15-minute mark. Life happens. But it's about cultivating that long-term commitment, that dedication to showing up for yourself and your language learning goals in a way that feels sustainable and enjoyable.
Absolutely. It's not about being perfect. It's about making consistent progress.
And ultimately, it's about embracing the journey, the ups and downs, the challenges and the triumphs, those moments when you step back and realize, wow, I've actually come so far.
I love that. It's all about celebrating those little victories along the way. It reminds me of that saying, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. It's a reminder that every little effort counts. Every step moves you closer to your goals.
And on that note, I want to leave you with this thought-provoking question from the article. What will you be able to accomplish a year from now if you commit to just 15 minutes of English practice each day? Think about it. What doors will open? What opportunities will arise?
Imagine the conversations you'll be having, the books you'll be reading, the places you'll be able to explore with confidence. It's all within reach.
It's pretty inspiring, right? It makes you realize that even small actions, done consistently, can lead to amazing things. So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, we want to hear from you. What are your biggest takeaways? Was there a particular tip or strategy that really resonated with you, something you're excited to try out in your own language learning journey?
Or maybe even some challenges you're facing. We'd love to hear what's working for you, what isn't, and what goals you're working towards.
Because, it's so easy to get caught up in the how-tos of language learning, but sometimes the most important thing is remembering that you're not alone in this.
That's so true. There's this whole amazing community of language learners out there.
All going through the same ups and downs, the same triumphs and struggles.
And we can all learn from each other.
Absolutely. So share your experiences, your tips, your questions. Let's support each other on this incredible journey.
Because just like those consistent drops of water that carve out canyons over time, your consistent efforts, no matter how small they seem, will shape your English fluency in incredible ways.
It's amazing to think about the power of those small actions accumulating day after day, week after week, month after month.
And before you know it, you'll look back and be amazed at how far you've come.
So go out there, embrace the journey, have fun, and let the magic of consistency work its wonders.
Happy learning, everyone.
That's a wrap on this deep dive into building consistent English learning habits. We'll catch you next time.